So Hawkins is quiet, almost too quiet. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across empty streets. Broken streetlights flicker in a rhythm that seems alive, as if they're breathing. The camera drifts slowly past familiar places: the buyer's house, the empty playground, a deserted grocery store. Everything looks normal at first glance, but there's a strange stillness that makes the air feel heavy. A newspaper blows down the street, pages rustling in the wind, carrying headlines that seem to scream warnings no one hears. The sound of a distant dog barking echoes through the streets. But there's no one there. The town seems frozen, caught. In a moment of uneasy calm, the camera shifts to a close-up of small, ordinary objects. A bike lies on its side, wheels spinning slowly as if pushed by an invisible hand. A faucet drips, each drop echoing loudly in the silence. A broken swing sways back and forth in the wind, making a haunting creak that cuts through the quiet. Shadows stretch and twist in impossible ways, crawling across the walls as the sun disappears behind the horizon. There's movement in the corners of the frame, subtle and unsettling. Like the town itself is hiding something, the atmosphere is thick, heavy, as if the night is holding its breath, waiting. Inside the houses, light flickers from rooms untouched. Foyers, curtains twitch, doors creak open slightly, and floors groan under no weight at all. The camera pans slowly through empty corridors, showing traces of life that once was. A picture frame hangs crooked, the glass reflecting a strange, distorted image that doesn't belong. The sound of wind howling through cracks and chimneys fills the air. But underneath it is something deeper, low, almost imperceptible hum that feels wrong. It's the kind of sound that crawls under your skin, raising the hair on the back of your neck. The world of Hawkins seems normal, yet completely off. There's a tension in the air, a sense that the calm is temporary and fragile. Outside, the streets begin to darken, shadows stretching longer and deeper. Trees sway violently, though the wind seems mild. Leaves flutter like whispers, telling stories of things unseen. The camera moves slowly through the streets, past homes with lights off, past empty shops, past corners where darkness seems to gather. Each step feels heavier than the last. The town is waiting. But waiting for what? The tension builds as night falls completely. There's a moment of silence, deep and suffocating. Before subtle movements start to appear, a shadow flickers across. A wall then disappears. A puddle on the ground ripples without wind. The air is thick with anticipation, as if the world itself knows something is coming. The final moments of this section linger on a single street. A lamppost flickers once, twice, then goes out completely. Darkness swallows the street, leaving only the faint glow of the moon. The sound of a distant, distorted hum grows louder, mingling with the soft whisper of the wind. Something shifts in the shadows, unseen but present. The calm has ended. Though the danger has yet to fully reveal itself, the scene leaves the viewer with a sense of unease, a feeling that Hawkins is no longer the town they once knew. This is just the beginning. The air grows colder in Hawkins, though the sky still holds the last traces of sunset. A strange mist coils through the empty streets, curling around lampposts and slipping under doors as if alive. The world feels thinner here, fragile, like a sheet of glass stretched over something dark and hidden. The camera moves slowly, drifting past cracked windows and graffiti-covered walls, lingering on small details that feel wrong. A puddle reflecting not the sky above, but a shadowy, inverted version of it. A tree whose branches twist in impossible directions, scraping the air with a noise that is almost a whisper. Everywhere, subtle disturbances appear. The streetlights flicker in uneven patterns, sometimes too fast, sometimes too slow, like they are breathing. Shadows stretch unnaturally, bending around corners in ways that physics cannot explain. A single street corner appears empty at first, but then a dark shape flickers at the edge of perception, vanishing whenever the camera tries to focus. The wind picks up, carrying with it a faint metallic tang, a scent like iron and ozone that makes the skin prickle. The world seems ordinary until you notice that it isn't. The ordinary is cracking, splitting at the edges. making a darkness that pulses softly in rhythm with a sound you feel more than hear inside. Abandoned houses. The strange activity grows more pronounced. Doors, once firmly shut, creak open just enough to suggest a presence. Furniture shifts slightly, as if brushed by invisible hands. A ceiling fan spins erratically, casting flickering shadows on the walls that form shapes that are wrong twisted. And unnerving. Mirrors ripple like liquid when looked at from the corner of the eye, showing brief, distorted reflections of things that do not belong. In one hallway, the floorboards groan under weight. But no one walks there. A single light bulb overhead pulses, not with electricity, but with an almost conscious rhythm, sensing with the low hum that has begun to throb beneath the town. Outside, the landscape itself starts to betray Hawkins. Puddles ripple without wind. Asphalt cracks, and then dark tendrils snake outward, moving as if alive. A tree sways violently despite still air, its bark splitting in slow motion, revealing a black, glistening surface beneath. The camera follows the tendrils as they creep across the ground, coiling around street signs and mailboxes, distorting familiar objects into unrecognizable forms. The street seems endless, but each corner brings more strange phenomena. The pavement seems to sink slightly, bending under some invisible pressure. The houses lean ever so slightly, as if pushed by a force just outside perception. The town is being reshaped by something unseen, a presence slipping in from a place that should not exist. The sounds are as disturbing as the visuals. A low, guttural hum reverberates from the ground, punctuated by sharp metallic twangs and distant, echoing knocks. Occasionally, a whispering voice seems to emerge from nowhere, but it is impossible to understand. It is only felt, vibrating in the chest. Animals are absent or silent, hiding in fear. The occasional crow or dog bark seems distorted, as if their cries are pulled through another dimension. Even the wind carries voices, small fragments of words that might be calling a name, warning of danger, or simply repeating itself endlessly. Each sound increases the tension, creating a sensory layering that suggests something is pressing against the boundary between the normal world and the upside down. The sky itself begins to change. Dark clouds gather too quickly, blotting out the remaining light. For brief, unsettling moments, the clouds part to reveal glimpses of another sky purple, black, streaked with a glowing unnatural red. Lightning flashes briefly, revealing shapes that seem suspended between the two realities, too fast to fully see. These glimpses are fleeting but enough to instill a deep, unsettling fear that the boundaries separating Hawkins from the upside down are weakening. Shadows twist and elongate. Light bends strangely, and familiar objects take on alien forms. The sense of safety that once belonged to the town is gone. Finally, the camera drifts to the edge of a forest, a place already familiar yet transformed. Mist coils through the trees like living smoke, and the underbrush moves as though something enormous is walking just out of sight. A shallow river glows faintly, reflecting not the stars, but an upside-down pattern of lights that should not exist. The sound of the hum grows louder, vibrating through the ground, the trees, and the bones of anyone who listens. At this moment, the line between the real Hawkins and the upside down becomes unclear. The camera hovers above the forest, and for a heartbeat, the world seems to flip. What is solid becomes liquid. What is natural becomes monstrous. And the quiet town is revealed as a fragile island in a sea of darkness. The final moments of this section linger on a single street side. Its letters slowly distort, twisting into shapes that suggest movement from another dimension. A flicker of purple light pulses beneath it. The wind carries a low, almost human groan, and the screen goes black. The world of Hawkins is no longer safe, and the upside down is seeping in slowly. Inevitably, and without mercy, the town feels smaller now, compressed under the weight of unseen eyes. Shadows stretch across alleyways and empty streets, elongating unnaturally, crawling toward corners where no one stands. Shapes move just beyond the frame, fleeting silhouettes that suggest life, but no one can be certain. The camera drifts slowly, focusing on fragments of characters rather than their faces. A hand tightening around a bike handle, knuckles white with tension. A foot pausing on a cracked sidewalk. Hesitant, waiting for something, hair blowing across. A shoulder, caught in a flickering streetlight. These small, human details hint at the people who have fought before, reminding the audience of the stakes without revealing who they are. Nothing is coming back to Hawkins. Something darker, bigger, and more dangerous than anything we've ever seen. The town looks quiet, but the air feels heavy, like the shadows themselves are watching. The streets are empty. The lights flicker, and the wind whispers secrets no one wants to hear. You might think it's over, but it's only just beginning. Inside homes, familiar spaces are empty yet alive. A jacket hangs over a chair, trembling as though someone invisible has just brushed past. A board game lies scattered across a living room table. Pieces half pushed aside, frozen mid-play. The camera lingers on a shadowed room where faint breathing echoes softly, almost synchronized with the low hum of the town itself. Books shift slightly on shelves. Pages rustling as if reading themselves, objects of significance, an old flashlight. A torn map, a peculiar trinket catch the light for a moment, then disappear into shadow. Every small movement suggests presence, tension, and anticipation, keeping the viewer aware of unseen watchers outside. The streets and forests offer more subtle glimpses of the characters' struggles. A hand emerges from behind a tree to grab a rope, pulling something heavy, then disappears again. Footsteps run through puddles, leaving wet impressions in the dust, but no body is seen. A door slams somewhere in the distance, though no one is visible. Each of these moments feels deliberate, like a heartbeat reminders that Hawkins' defenders are present, aware of the danger closing in, but unable to reveal themselves fully. The audience senses the tension, the fear, and the readiness for the coming confrontation. Without ever seeing the faces of the people they know, the forest becomes a stage for tension. Branches snap under weight that cannot be clearly identified. A faint rustling, like fabric brushing against leaves, moves through the trees, accompanied by the occasional metallic glint that catches the moonlight. Shadows dart between trunks. Small flashes of movement suggesting familiarity, someone crouching, hiding, observing. Occasionally, a hand reaches out to touch a tree or press against a wall for balance, fingers trembling with effort. Each gesture is intimate, personal, and charged with emotion. Speaking volumes without a single word, these silent glimpses humanize the characters while emphasizing the faceless, suspenseful tone of the trailer. Objects tied to past memories hint at what is at stake. A bike wheel spins slowly on the ground, the spokes catching faint light like teeth. A glove lies on wet asphalt, drenched but untouched. A door creaks open to reveal a room filled with familiar posters and trinkets, yet the space is empty, waiting. A backpack tilts against a wall, contents shifting slightly as though someone just set it down or ran from it. These small, seemingly mundane items are charged with emotional weight, reminding viewers of past struggles and relationships, while keeping the focus faceless and mysterious. The camera glides past a street corner where movement is suggested, not shown. A figure crouches behind a trash bin, a flashlight beam briefly illuminating a hand, fingers twitching. Leaves scatter as footsteps pass, but no face appears. The sound of shallow breathing mixes with the faint hum from before, as if both the town and the characters themselves are holding their breath. Every sound, every movement, every flicker of light emphasizes tension and anticipation. The audience is made to feel the presence of the characters without ever seeing them, a careful balance of suspense and recognition. Finally, the scene shifts to a high vantage point. The town stretches below, dark and quiet, but hints of movement are everywhere. A silhouette stands on a rooftop, the edge of a coat fluttering in the wind. From another building, a shadow moves along a fire escape, pausing before disappearing into the darkness. Each gesture is fleeting, deliberate, and carefully framed to evoke the presence of the characters without revealing identities. The town is alive with hidden defenders, silent watchers preparing for what is coming. The upside-down's influence grows stronger below, reflected in the twisted, flickering lights and unnatural shadows, reminding viewers that danger lurks everywhere. The final moments of this section focus on a single object in motion, a small, glowing artifact rolling across the street, briefly illuminating nearby shadows. Fingers reach for it, hesitant, then vanish as the object stops vibrating faintly. The camera lingers on the street, still and empty, with only the hum of tension filling the air. In this silence, the audience understands. The characters are present, aware, ready but unseen. The faceless tension heightens the suspense, reminding viewers that the fight for Hawkins is deeply personal, intimate, and far from over. The town no longer feels safe. Darkness presses in from every corner, thickening the air and muting the familiar sounds of Hawkins. The streets are empty, but movement is everywhere in the flicker of broken lights. The ripple of puddles, the subtle sway of objects that should not move, shadows stretch and twist, growing longer, sharper, crawling along walls and streets with a life of their own. There's an unease to every corner, a sense that the town itself is bending, warping under pressure from something unseen. The camera glides past a row of houses, capturing doors slightly ajar, windows cracked, as though the very structures are shivering in fear. Suddenly, disturbances intensify. The air vibrates with a low, resonant hum that seems to emanate from the ground itself. Asphalt cracks, and black tendrils snake outward, curling and twisting as if searching for something. Street signs tilt unnaturally, trees groan and twist violently, their branches clawing at the sky. Faint glimpses of movement appear in the corners of vision, shapes too dark to define, vanishing when the camera focuses. Shadows crawl across the sidewalks, not in the shape of humans, but something more alien, more threatening. The town is no longer simply empty, it is hunted. Inside buildings, the threat manifests in subtle yet terrifying ways. Objects tremble as if pushed by invisible hands. Furniture slides slightly across floors. Ceiling fans spin erratically, casting fractured light across walls, distorting familiar spaces into unfamiliar nightmares. Mirrors ripple like water, reflecting distorted versions of the rooms. And for a heartbeat, something appears, an impossible shadow, a twisting shape that seems to breathe. Doors slam shut on their own, windows shatter silently, and faint scratches echo through the empty halls. The camera lingers on small details, a picture frame trembling on the wall, a lamp flickering with unnatural light, a toy spinning on the floor as if moved by invisible fingers. Each detail heightens the sense that the ordinary world is losing its hold. Outside, the forest has become a place of lurking menace. Mist coils unnaturally around the trees, thickening into almost solid shapes. The underbrush rustles with movement that cannot be attributed to animals. A river glows faintly in unnatural colors, reflecting lights that do not exist in the sky. Branches snap with a force that seems too deliberate, as though something enormous moves just out of sight. Shadows dart between trees, twisting and stretching in impossible ways. Occasionally, a tendril of darkness rises from the ground, snaking across the forest floor, reaching for something or someone. Every movement suggests intent, purpose, a predator stalking its prey. The soundscape amplifies the terror. The low hum deepens into a vibration that rattles windows and bones alike. Metallic scraping echoes from unseen corners, punctuated by distant, echoing roars that rise and fall unpredictably. The occasional whisper of a voice threads through the hum, half words, half sound, impossible to understand but impossible to ignore. The wind carries fragmented echoes of movement, small thuds and skitters, amplifying the feeling that the town is alive with unseen threats. Every sound seems amplified and natural, making the familiar streets feel alien and hostile. The creatures begin to appear in fleeting glimpses. A shadow passes across a wall, too fast to see clearly. A tendril coils around a streetlight, causing it to shudder and dim. The ground ripples as if breathing. The shapes are alien, unnatural, not fully formed, but their presence is undeniable. An otherworldly intelligence creeping into the town. Trees bend toward them. Street signs tilt as if bowing, and even the shadows seem to recoil. The world is responding to the threat, warping and bending as if the very fabric of reality is struggling to contain it. Chaos begins to rise in small, subtle ways before erupting. A single car alarm goes off, its shrill wail bouncing off walls. A lamppost flickers violently before collapsing. Water in puddles ripples upward, defying gravity, revealing shapes that should not exist beneath its surface. The camera drifts across the street, capturing these small anomalies building in intensity, culminating in a crescendo of unnatural movement. The town itself seems alive, quivering under the weight of the encroaching upside down. Warning of the coming storm. The section ends on a moment of pure, silent tension. The camera hovers above a street corner where a small object, a bicycle, overturned rests. Shadows riff and pulse around it as the low hum grows louder. The wind falls silent, leaving only the vibration of fear and anticipation. The world of Hawkins is no longer familiar. The threat is rising, relentless and unstoppable, pushing the town toward chaos. The upside down is no longer distant. It is here, merging, breaking, consuming. And for anyone watching, the feeling is unavoidable. The battle has already begun.